The human ship touched down on the edge of the alien valley. It was a small transport craft, worn by years of travel, its engines weak but still alive. From the outside it looked fragile, like a bird lost in a storm, but it had carried its passengers safely through deep space. He stepped out slowly. His boots sank into soft soil that pulsed faintly with light. The ground itself seemed alive. Blue veins of energy moved under the surface, glowing brighter with each step he took. He had never seen such a thing before. The air was different here. It was sweet and heavy, carrying the scent of flowers and something he could not name. The sky was deep purple, and 3 moons hung low, as if they were watching him. He felt small in this place, as if the whole world was awake and aware of his presence. Ahead of him, the alien village rose from the earth. The houses were not built of stone or wood. They were grown, shaped from massive living plants that twisted upward and bloomed into roofs. Walls shimmered with bioluminescent vines that glowed softly, painting the streets in gentle green light. Everything was alive, and everything seemed to breathe. The humans stopped at the edge of the village. Dozens of alien eyes were watching him. The villagers stood in silence. They were tall, graceful, and covered in soft patterns of light across their skin. Some had markings that glowed brighter, while others carried faint scars that told of an old struggle. No one spoke at first. They only watched. Their stares were not hostile, yet they were not warm either. It was as if they were weighing him, judging his purpose. He raised a hand slowly, offering a greeting. The silence stretched. Then, one figure stepped forward. It was an elder, wrapped in robes of woven crystal strands. Her eyes were deep silver, reflecting the glow of the village. "You have come," she said in a calm voice. The human nodded, unsure what to reply. "Yes. I was told you had a job for me." Her lips curved into a faint smile, but her eyes did not change. "You were chosen long before you arrived. The work is sacred. It is not like the jobs you know on your home world." He felt a chill run through him. Her words were heavy, as if she spoke not to him alone but to the entire valley. Behind her, the villagers began to murmur. Their voices blended like wind in tall grass. The elder raised her hand, and the voices fell silent again. She looked at him with an expression he could not read. "Do not fear. You will be cared for. The village will give you food, shelter, and honor. In return, you will give us what only a human can provide." His heart beat faster. He wanted to ask what she meant, but something in her tone kept him quiet. The mystery deepened with every word. She gestured for him to follow. 2 younger villagers walked ahead, guiding the way. He moved through the village, passing strange sights at every turn. Children with glowing markings ran barefoot through the streets. Their laughter sounded like music, yet their eyes lingered on him with wonder. Tall towers grown from vines hummed softly, sending vibrations through the air. Every corner of this place felt alive, yet something about it carried a shadow of sadness. The human's steps slowed. He could feel the weight of all eyes on him. It was not only curiosity. There was expectation. At last they stopped before a great hall at the center of the village. Its walls shone with liquid light, shifting in slow waves as if the structure was breathing. The doors opened soundlessly. Inside, a group of elders waited, seated in a circle of glowing stone. Their faces were calm, but their silence was heavier than words. He stood in the center of the hall. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "I am ready to work. Tell me what I must do." The elder who had greeted him entered behind him. She stepped forward, her robes flowing like water. She touched the center stone of the floor, and the whole hall glowed brighter. "The job is sacred," she said again. "It is the reason you were brought here. It is the reason this village has prepared for your arrival." He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "What kind of job is this?" Her eyes met his, calm but unblinking. She gave no answer. Instead, she raised her hand, and the circle of elders bowed their heads in silence. The glow of the hall dimmed until only her silver eyes shone. "Tonight you will rest," she said. "Tomorrow you will begin." He wanted to protest, to demand an answer, but something in her presence kept him silent. His body trembled with unease, yet a strange pull urged him forward. The villagers guided him to a home near the river. It was beautiful, filled with soft light and fresh fruit laid on the table. But when he sat down, the silence pressed against him like a weight. What kind of job had he agreed to? Why would only a human be chosen? He lay awake that night, staring at the glowing ceiling, as the sound of the river whispered outside. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but he could feel it. His life was about to change forever. The sun rose slowly over the alien valley. Its light was golden, but different from Earth. It touched every leaf, every wall, and made the entire village glow as if wrapped in fire. The human stood at the window of his new home. He had not slept well. The voices of the river and the strange hum of the living walls had kept him awake. His thoughts had done the rest. The elder's words echoed in his mind. The job is sacred. You will give us what only a human can provide. He tried to guess the meaning, but none of his guesses felt right. Farming, hunting, building, or teaching. None of these sounded sacred. None of them explained the way the villagers had stared at him as if he was more than just a worker. When the door opened, he jumped. A young villager stood there, tall and silent, her skin lined with glowing patterns that shifted like waves. She did not smile. She only spoke softly. "The council waits. You must come now." He followed her through the village. The streets were busier in the daylight. Merchants displayed fruits that looked like crystal orbs. Children carried baskets of flowers that released clouds of glowing dust. Strange animals moved through the alleys, half creature, half plant, their bodies pulsing with light. Yet everywhere he walked, eyes turned toward him. Murmurs followed his steps. Some sounded curious. Others sounded fearful. They reached the great hall again. The doors opened, and the elders sat waiting in their circle of glowing stone. The same elder from the night before stood in the center. She looked at him with those silver eyes that never blinked. "Human traveler," she said, her voice carrying like music across the chamber. "Today you must choose. You have seen our home. You have been welcomed into it. Now you must agree to take your place among us." He stepped forward slowly. "I am ready to work," he said. His voice was firm, but inside he was not sure. "Tell me what you need from me." The elder lifted a hand. A villager stepped forward carrying a tablet made of crystal. Strange symbols glowed across its surface, shifting into shapes he could almost understand. The tablet was placed before him. "This is our contract," the elder said. "If you place your mark upon it, you become one of us. The village will feed you, shelter you, and protect you. No harm will touch you here. In return, you will fulfill the duty that only you can perform." His heart beat faster. He stared at the glowing tablet. The words on its surface bent and shifted until they shaped into earth letters. The message was simple. Agreement of work. The one who signs shall take on the sacred role. The village shall give honor and care. The work cannot be broken until it is complete. He frowned. "This contract does not say what the work is." The elder tilted her head slightly. "It cannot be written. It must be lived. The words are too small for what is sacred. You must trust us. You must trust the choice that was made before you ever came here." The chamber was silent. Every villager watched him. Their glowing eyes held something he could not name. Hope, fear, hunger, and longing, all woven together. He felt his throat tighten. "What if I refuse?" he asked. His voice was quiet, almost swallowed by the silence. The elder's silver eyes did not move. "Then you may leave the village. But you will carry no gift. You will walk the valley alone. And beyond the valley, the desert waits. It does not forgive. It does not return." He looked at the tablet again. His fingers shook as he touched its glowing surface. The words burned under his hand. The contract was alive, waiting for him to decide. He thought of Earth, of the loneliness that had driven him into the stars. He thought of how far he had come, only to find himself standing here, at the center of a village that seemed to breathe his name. He closed his eyes. Then he placed his mark. The tablet flared with light, then dimmed, sealing the bond. The chamber filled with sound. The villagers began to chant softly, voices rising like waves. The air vibrated with their song. The elder stepped closer, her voice almost a whisper now. "It is done. You are bound to us. Tonight you will know your duty. The sacred work begins." The human's chest tightened. He wanted to ask again, but he could not. The contract glowed faintly on the floor beside him, a reminder that his choice was final. The elders rose as one, their robes shimmering with light. The chamber doors opened, and the villagers outside cheered. Hands reached toward him, not to harm, but to touch, as if he carried something holy. He felt the weight of their hope pressing against him, heavier than chains. The young villager who had brought him stood at his side. Her eyes held no fear, only calm certainty. She spoke softly, almost kindly. "Do not be afraid. The village waits for what you will give." Her words chilled him more than the desert ever could. That night, the human sat alone in his new home. The contract's glow lingered faintly in his mind. He had agreed. He had bound himself to something he did not yet understand. The village had given him shelter and food, but the mystery of his role only grew heavier. As the river whispered outside, he wondered. What kind of work was so sacred that it could not be written? What duty could tie his fate to an entire village? Sleep did not come. Only silence, and the feeling that tomorrow would reveal something he was not ready to face. The second night in the alien village was quieter than the first. The human sat inside his glowing home, staring at the fruit on the table, untouched. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of flowers. Outside, the river hummed like a living instrument, but its music gave him no peace. He had signed the contract. His mark was sealed. The village treated him with honor. Children had left flowers at his door. Neighbors bowed their heads when they passed. Yet he still had no answer. What was this job he had agreed to? Why had the elders refused to speak the truth? As the moons rose higher in the purple sky, he felt his eyes grow heavy. He lay down on the soft bed shaped from living roots, its surface pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Just as sleep was beginning to take him, the door to his home opened without a sound. He sat up quickly, his heart racing. A figure stepped inside. It was a young woman of the village. Her skin carried glowing patterns that shifted like rivers of light. Her eyes were large and filled with quiet strength. She moved with grace, her steps making no sound against the floor. The human's voice shook. "Who are you? Why are you here?" She stopped near the doorway. Her voice was soft, almost like a song. "I was sent to you. It is time you understood the truth." His chest tightened. "The truth about what?" Her gaze met his, calm but steady. "Your work. The sacred duty you agreed to." He stood, his hands curling into fists though he felt no threat from her. Only unease. "Then tell me. What is this job that only I can do?" She took a slow breath. The glowing lines across her skin brightened, then dimmed, as if in rhythm with her words. "Our people are dying. Our children grow fewer every year. We cannot survive much longer." He frowned. "But you have families. I saw the children outside. You are not dying." Her voice grew heavy, filled with sadness. "What you saw is all that remains. Fewer with every season. Our blood grows thin. Our union is broken. We cannot create life without help." The human shook his head slowly. The weight of her words pressed against him, but he still did not understand. "What does that have to do with me?" She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. The silence in the room grew deep, almost alive. Then she spoke the words that froze his breath. "You are here to give us children. That is your work." The air seemed to shatter around him. His chest tightened, his pulse loud in his ears. He stared at her, unable to speak. She did not look away. Her expression carried no shame, no cruelty, only hope mixed with sorrow. "Only humans can give us life now. Long ago, Our people tried to mix with others, but it failed. When humans came to this world, everything changed. Your blood holds what we lack. Without you, we cannot survive. He took a step back, his legs trembling. That cannot be true. That cannot be why I was brought here. Her voice remained calm, but her eyes glimmered as if she carried centuries of loss. It is the only truth. You were chosen. You signed the bond. You are not a prisoner, but you cannot walk away from this. The village waits for you. Our future waits for you. The human felt the walls closing in. His mind raced, searching for escape, but the door behind her seemed to disappear into shadow. He could not move, trapped by the weight of her words. At last, he whispered, his voice broken. So this is my job. To make children. To be used. The woman's eyes softened. She shook her head gently. Not used. Needed. Without you we end. You can walk away if you choose, but the desert will not let you return. And if you stay, you will not only save us. You may also find a place where you belong. Her words lingered in the silence. The human looked at her again. She was not cruel. She was not forcing him. Yet the truth felt heavier than chains. He thought of Earth, of the loneliness that had chased him into the stars. He thought of his contract, glowing with his mark, binding him to this place. His heart pounded. He wanted to scream, to refuse, to break free. But her eyes held him still. Not with fear, but with something else. A plea. She took another step forward, close enough for him to see the faint shimmer of light across her skin. You are not alone here. I was chosen to guide you, to walk with you. If you stay, we will face this together. The words struck him in a way he did not expect. Together. The silence returned, heavier now, yet filled with something new. He could not name it, but he felt it in his chest. That night, as the river whispered outside and the moons cast silver light through the window, the human lay awake again. But this time, it was not fear alone that kept him from sleep. It was the weight of choice, and the strange spark of something that felt dangerously close to hope. The morning after the truth was revealed, the human walked through the village with heavy steps. The glowing streets seemed brighter than before, but to him they felt like chains wrapped around his feet. Everywhere he went, villagers greeted him with respect. They bowed their heads, offered him fruit, and whispered words he could not understand. To them he was already part of something sacred. To him, it felt like a prison. He kept his eyes low, trying to avoid their stares. Yet he could feel it. The weight of their hope pressed against his skin. Each pair of eyes seemed to ask the same question. Will you save us? The young woman who had spoken the truth the night before walked beside him. She moved with quiet grace, her glowing patterns shifting in soft rhythm. Her face carried calm, but he sensed a shadow in her eyes. She knew the burden she had placed on him. They reached the river. Its surface shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting the 3 moons even in daylight. He stopped there, gripping the edge of the living bridge, his chest tight. I never asked for this, he said. His voice cracked with anger and fear. I came here for work, not for this. You want me to give you children. That is not a job. That is my life. My choice. The woman's eyes lowered. Her voice was soft, filled with sadness. We know. But we have no choice. Without you, our people fade into silence. You are not the first human we found, but you are the first to stay. The others left us to die. Her words cut deep. He turned away, staring at the flowing water. Maybe they were right to leave. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. And if you leave too? What happens then? Do you know what it feels like to watch your children grow fewer each season? To bury the last of your family, knowing there will be no more? We live with that pain every day. That is why the job is sacred. It is not about work. It is about survival. He clenched his fists, his body shaking. The truth pressed against him like a storm. He wanted to escape, to run back to his ship, to leave the village behind. But the image of endless desert filled his mind. The elder's warning echoed again. The desert does not forgive. The desert does not return. His ship was broken. His fuel was gone. Even if he left, there was nowhere to go. He sat on the bridge, his face buried in his hands. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of the river filled the silence. At last, she sat beside him. Not close enough to touch, but near enough for him to feel her presence. "I was chosen to walk with you," she said softly. "Not to force you, not to bind you. To help you see what this means. You think you are alone, but you are not." He lifted his head slowly. Her eyes were filled with quiet strength, but also something gentler. He saw no cruelty there. No plan to trap him. Only hope, mixed with fear. His anger softened, though the fear remained. "You talk as if I am a savior. But I am only one man. What if I fail you? What if I cannot give what you need?" She gave a faint smile, though her voice trembled. "Then we will still remember you as the one who tried. The one who stayed when others ran." The words struck him in a way he did not expect. They did not ease his fear, but they carved a small space in his heart where something else began to grow. Not acceptance. Not yet. But connection. That evening, the council summoned him again. The great hall glowed with stronger light than before. The elders rose as he entered, their silver eyes reflecting the fire of the village. One elder spoke. "Human, you have taken the contract. You have seen the truth. But choice remains. Will you honor the bond, or will you walk into the desert?" The hall was silent. The villagers outside waited, their voices hushed, their faces filled with expectation. He felt their weight pressing down on him, harder than stone. He opened his mouth, but no words came. His throat burned with fear. His heart fought against the walls of his chest. He wanted to scream that it was unfair, that he was trapped. Yet in the corner of his vision, he saw the young woman. She stood with her hands folded, her face calm, but her eyes trembling with quiet hope. The words froze in his throat. He could not say no. But he could not say yes either. At last he whispered, "I need time." The elders nodded slowly. "Then you shall have it. But not forever. The river does not wait. The seasons do not wait. Neither can we." They dismissed him, and he walked out into the night. The village glowed under the moons, alive with song and laughter. Yet none of it reached him. Inside his home, he sat alone once more. His mind was torn between fear and duty, between escape and surrender. The weight of the village pressed against his chest, but so did the image of the woman's eyes, filled with quiet hope. He whispered into the silence, his voice shaking. "What if I cannot choose? What if I am not enough?" No answer came. Only the sound of the river, carrying his words away into the night. Days passed in the alien village. At first, the human felt trapped in a cycle of silence and fear. He avoided the villagers when he could. He walked the glowing streets with his head down, always aware of their eyes following him. Yet slowly, things began to change. The young woman assigned to guide him never left his side. Her presence was calm, never forceful. She did not demand answers, nor did she push him toward his duty. Instead, she showed him the village. She took him to the gardens where fruits grew like shining gems. Their skins glowed faintly, and when opened, they released sweet light that tasted like honey. She showed him the workshops where villagers shaped crystal into tools with their bare hands, bending it as if it were clay. She guided him to the cliffs at sunset, where the 3 moons rose together, casting silver fire across the valley. The human began to see the village differently. It was not only a place of pressure and duty. It was also a place of beauty, shaped by a people who were struggling to survive. At night, they sat by the river together. The water glowed as it moved, carrying fragments of light that looked like stars drifting across its surface. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they only sat in silence, listening to the hum of the living valley. One evening he asked her, "Why did they choose you to guide me?" She looked at the river before answering. "Because I volunteered. Others feared you. They feared what you would think of us, what you might refuse. But I wanted to understand you. I wanted to see if a human could see us not as a burden, but as people. Her words surprised him. So you chose this. Even if I said no, even if I failed, you were ready. She nodded slowly. Yes. Because even if you left us, I wanted to know what it meant to try. To hope. He stared at her for a long moment. For the first time since his arrival, he did not see her as a stranger. He saw her as someone who carried a weight just as heavy as his. Someone who had chosen him not because of duty, but because of belief. The days turned into weeks. The human began to help in small ways. He worked in the gardens, learning to plant seeds that grew into glowing vines overnight. He carried water from the river, though the vessels were alive and pulsed with their own rhythm. He listened to the children's laughter and told them stories of Earth. Their eyes lit up when he spoke of oceans and forests, of birds that sang at dawn. Everywhere he went, the young woman was near. She laughed softly at his mistakes, encouraged him when he struggled, and listened when he spoke of his past. She learned about Earth from him, and he learned about her people through her. One night, under the glow of all 3 moons, he asked her, "Do you believe I belong here?" Her voice was steady, though her eyes shone with emotion. "I believe you could. Belonging is not given. It is made. And I see it growing in you, even if you do not see it yet." His chest tightened. He had not expected such words. For years, he had wandered the stars, searching for a place to belong. And now, here, in this strange valley, among people who looked at him with desperate hope, he began to feel something he thought he had lost forever. But the conflict was not gone. At night, when he lay alone, he still feared the truth of his duty. To give children, to bind his life to theirs, felt overwhelming. Yet each time he thought of refusing, he remembered her eyes. The way she looked at him not with chains, but with trust. Another day came when she brought him to a hidden cave behind the river. Inside, crystals grew from the walls, glowing with soft light that reflected in endless colors. At the center of the cave was a pool of still water. She touched the surface, and the pool came alive with images. He gasped as he saw visions of the past. The village thriving, children filling the streets, families strong and full of life. Then the images shifted. Illness. Loss. Empty homes. Graves lined along the river. The light of the village fading. Her voice was quiet. "This is why we asked for you. Not for power. Not for conquest. Only for life. For hope." Tears stung his eyes before he could stop them. The images struck deeper than words. He turned to her, his voice breaking. "You carry this every day, don't you?" She nodded, her face calm but her eyes shining. "Yes. But I am not alone now." For the first time, he reached out and touched her hand. Her skin was warm, her glowing patterns shifting beneath his touch. She did not pull away. She only looked at him with a softness that made his heart ache. In that moment, the human understood something. He was still afraid. He was still uncertain. But he was no longer alone. The bond between them was real, and it was growing stronger with every passing day. As they left the cave, the human looked up at the moons. For the first time since his arrival, he whispered to himself, "Maybe I was meant to find this place." The peace of the valley did not last. One evening, the sky turned red. The air carried a low tremor that shook the living houses and sent ripples across the glowing river. The villagers gathered in fear as a runner burst into the square, his skin dim with exhaustion. His voice rang out with panic. "The raiders have destroyed the eastern village. The homes are gone. The families are gone. Only smoke remains." Gasps filled the air. Mothers clutched their children. Elders bowed their heads in sorrow. The weight of grief spread like fire through the crowd. The human stood among them, his chest tight. He had heard of raiders before, but only in whispers. Bands of outsiders, merciless and cruel, who attacked the weak and took whatever they wanted. If they had destroyed one village, then others would surely follow. The council called for a gathering that night. The great hall glowed brighter than ever, its walls trembling with sorrow. The elders spoke with heavy voices. Our people grow weaker each season. The raiders know this. They strike where we cannot fight. If we do not renew our strength, they will sweep through the valley until nothing remains. The human listened in silence. Their words pressed on him like the contract itself, but heavier now, sharp with urgency. He looked at the villagers around him, their faces pale with fear. He saw the children clutching their mothers. He saw the young woman at his side, her eyes filled with sorrow, yet shining with quiet strength. The elder's silver eyes turned toward him. Human, you have lived among us. You have seen our need. You know the truth of our survival. Will you now honor the bond? Or will you let us fade, leaving the raiders to destroy what little remains? The hall fell silent. Every breath seemed to stop. The weight of their stares pressed into his chest. His throat felt dry. He wanted to speak, but his voice trembled. You ask me to give everything. To give my life. To give children that I may never see grow. To carry a future that is not my own. The elder's voice was steady. Yes. That is the truth. And it is a heavy truth. But it is also hope. Without you, there is nothing. The human turned away, his heart pounding. He thought of Earth, of the years of loneliness, of wandering the stars with no purpose but survival. He thought of the desert beyond the valley, endless and merciless. He thought of the visions in the crystal cave, of families fading, of graves by the river. And he thought of her. The young woman who had walked beside him. Who had shown him the gardens, the cliffs, the glowing waters. Who had listened to his stories and shared her own. Who had placed her trust in him, even when he doubted himself. She stepped forward now, her voice trembling but strong. If you stay, you will not carry this weight alone. I will walk with you. Our people will walk with you. You will not only save us. You will become part of us. This is not the end of your life. It is the beginning of a new one. Her words struck deep. He looked into her eyes, glowing softly in the hall's light. He saw not desperation but hope. Not chains but a bond. For the first time, the choice felt clear. Not easy, not free of fear, but clear. He turned back to the elders, his voice firm though his hands shook. I will stay. I will honor the bond. Not because I was forced, not because I was trapped, but because I choose to. I choose to stand with you. The hall erupted with sound. Voices rose in relief, in joy, in gratitude. The villagers chanted his name, their glowing patterns shining brighter than ever. The council bowed their heads, their silver eyes reflecting pride. The young woman looked at him, her face soft with emotion. She whispered so only he could hear. Thank you? You do not know what this means to us. He felt his chest tighten, but not with fear. This time, it was with something new. A strange warmth, heavy yet freeing. For the first time, he felt not like an outsider, but like someone who belonged. That night, as the villagers sang and the valley glowed brighter than it had in years, the human stood by the river once more. The water shimmered with starlight, carrying his reflection. He looked at himself and whispered, I was searching for a place to belong. Maybe this is where I was meant to be. The moons rose above him, silver and strong. The valley hummed with life, fragile but unbroken. For the first time, he felt ready to step into the role he had feared. Ready to carry not only his own future, but the future of an entire people. The village did not sleep that night. Fires burned along the river, glowing brighter than the moons. Songs filled the valley, voices rising in harmony, carrying both joy and sorrow. For the first time in many seasons, the air did not feel heavy with fear. It felt alive. The human stood among them, still unsure if he deserved their praise. Villagers touched his shoulders, pressed his hands, and bowed their heads as if he were already part of their history. The weight of their hope pressed against him, but it no longer felt like chains. It felt like trust. The young woman stayed close to him. Her presence steadied his heart. She guided him through the celebration, smiling softly though her eyes glimmered with tears. Later, as the songs faded and the fires grew low, she led him to the quiet edge of the river. The water shimmered with starlight, carrying fragments of light downstream like drifting souls. She turned to him. You changed everything tonight. Our people see a future again. Not just survival, but life. He looked at her, his chest heavy with words he could not speak. I was afraid, he admitted. His voice trembled. I am still afraid. But when I saw them, when I saw you, I understood. This is not only about me. It is about all of you. And maybe, about us. Her eyes softened. She stepped closer, the glowing lines across her skin pulsing in gentle rhythm. I told you that you are not alone. Now you believe it. He reached out slowly, uncertain. But when his hand touched hers, she did not pull away. Their fingers intertwined, warm and steady. In that moment, something fragile and powerful took root. Not just duty. Not just survival. Something deeper. They stood in silence, holding hands as the river carried its light. Days passed, then weeks. The human became part of the village. He worked in the gardens, hunted in the glowing forests, and sat with the children, telling stories of Earth. The villagers no longer looked at him as an outsider. They called him brother. They called him hope. And with the young woman, the bond grew stronger. They laughed together in the fields. They walked by the river at night. They shared dreams and fears, and slowly, what began as trust became something more. Something both of them had longed for but never spoken aloud. One evening, the council gathered again. This time there was no silence of fear, no shadow of despair. The elders rose and declared, Our future is no longer lost. The bond has been accepted. The first steps of renewal have begun. The villagers cheered. Light spread across their skin, glowing brighter than ever. The valley pulsed with life. The human stood with the young woman beside him. For the first time, he did not feel like a stranger standing among them. He felt like he belonged. That night, as they walked together under the 3 moons, he whispered to her, I came here searching for work. But what I found was a place to live. A place to love. She smiled, her eyes shining with emotion. Then you were never chosen by chance. You were meant to be here. He kissed her hand gently, his heart steady for the first time in years. Maybe this is what I was searching for all along. The moons rose higher, silver light bathing the valley. The villagers sang by the river, their voices filled with hope. And at the edge of the water, a human and an alien woman stood hand in hand, ready to begin a legacy that would change their people forever. The human had come to the valley a wanderer. But he would remain as something more. Not a prisoner. Not a stranger. But a father of a new beginning. And the galaxy, though it did not yet know it, would never be the same.